Welcome to Media Literacy. In this short course, we'll go over a few of the following things: the difference between primary and secondary sources and references, the agenda a writer may have, and the difference between facts and opinions. So let's start with this term fake news, which has been quite prevalent in recent times. We've seen an era of misinformation where people can't always tell the difference between fact and fiction as it's presented to them. Certain sites have something called clickbait, which are very attractive title stories with full articles of little to no substance. And also the fact that in the modern age, it is very, very easy to access this wide range of information. So this is kind of the problem, that people enjoy stories and more interesting flashpoints rather than perhaps something more of substance and fact. So these little tricks are used sometimes by some media outlets in order to increase viewership by inducing little tricks like repetition and clickbait. So how do I know what I'm reading is going to be close to the real truth? This requires us to really understand where the sources of information come from. So what a primary source is something that is direct and verifiable. So for example, if I have unedited video footage of an event, and it must be unedited, otherwise it can be cut with certain angles, music added, commentary over the top to remove context, or a peer-reviewed publication such as a university journal with references that can be verified and checked. So these primary sources are going to be the closest we can get to the truth or fact of a matter. Unfortunately, they're not always available, so many of us will access secondary sources. So that is articles online or newspapers with written opinions about an event. Or we may ask our friends or family. I've put your neighbor's uncle as an example. And with these secondary sources, they may be a good source of information, but they may also be akin to gossip. They may not always be telling the exact true facts, or they may have an opinion attached to it. So next, is the reference from a credible source? What I'd like to reiterate is primary sources are the best. Trusted publications, so things that are very, very well known, very reputable. And also, when the information is published, it can be checked in other publications as well. So if I see a story in a newspaper or on television, and I see a very similar story with very similar facts told from many different points of view, but they all kind of point to the same thing, it is more likely I can believe this information rather than just one source or an untrusted source. Next, who is writing or printing the article? So as we know, there are different political leanings, some to the left, some to the right, whether it be liberal, conservative, or towards the center. And these publications will often have some kind of slant or agenda to it. So that is, if a newspaper generally publishes articles associated with the left or liberal, the information in there will reflect that point of view. And similarly with the other side. And so it is easy to get caught up reading these same publications because they align with our own points of view. So it doesn't always give us this unadulterated fact. So there is different reasons why people will write articles and for certain purposes. So next we've got the difference between facts and opinions. So how can I differentiate when I'm reading something what is an opinion and what is a fact. I do have some examples here, and these are not completely clear-cut either. It's a random example. It's not based on a true event, but I've just presented a similar viewpoint in three different ways. So the top one, I have, there was a mass protest today in the CBD over government inaction on climate change. So it tells us the general facts. There was a protest today, where it was, what it was about. But it doesn't really offer an opinion as to whether that is a good or bad thing. Even the fact does have slightly vague language as well. So when we say mass protest, well, how many people is that? That's a bit of a vague term. And when it says government inaction, perhaps that can indicate the author thinks the government has insufficiently acted on this issue. So again, that might be a slightly biased term, but it's much clearer in the examples. So we can see for the opinion one, the disruptive mass protest in the CBD today caused chaos in the streets and frustration for the commuters. Now this clearly seems to have a negative slant on the protest. It's highlighting the fact it was possibly disruptive, use words like chaos, frustration, is designed to set a certain mood or agenda for the belief about this particular protest. And similarly, so does opinion two. Climate change advocates gathered for a peaceful protest today in the CBD to raise awareness of a critical global concern. So on the other side of things, they're emphasizing, although it's a protest, it was peaceful, and it was for an extremely good reason, a critical global concern. So that is a brief introduction to media literacy. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.